The millionaire's smirk cut through the air like an insult sharpened to a blade. "I only asked to see my balance," he said again, tapping his gold watch against the glass counter, loud enough for everyone in the bank to hear. "Is that too much for you?" The line behind him went quiet. A few people stared at the floor. Others pretended to check their phones. No one wanted to be noticed when someone rich decided to make a scene. On the other side of the counter stood Aisha Khan, her hands resting lightly on the keyboard, her back straight despite the heat crawling up her neck. She had heard this tone before, polite words wrapped around contempt. The kind that reminded her exactly where she stood in the world. "Of course, sir," she replied calmly. "May I please see your ID one more time?" The man let out a small laugh, the kind meant to humiliate. "Do you know who I am?" he asked, turning slightly so the people behind him could hear. "I move more money in a day than you'll earn in your lifetime." Aisha swallowed, but her voice didn't shake. "Bank policy, sir." He rolled his eyes and slapped his wallet onto the counter. "Fine, let's get this over with." As she typed in his details, Aisha's mind drifted, as it often did in moments like this, back to the long road that had brought her here. She remembered the tiny apartment where she grew up, the ceiling fan that rattled all night, her mother counting coins on the kitchen table to decide whether they could afford vegetables or just bread. She remembered her father leaving one morning for a job interview and never coming back, heart attack on a crowded bus, no insurance, no warning. At 19, Aisha had worked 2 jobs while studying finance at night. She had learned numbers not because she loved money, but because she feared what life looked like without it. Stability, she had decided, was the greatest luxury of all. The screen finished loading. Aisha blinked once. Then she looked again. Her fingers froze above the keyboard. The man leaned closer, impatient. "Well, are you done admiring my wealth, or do you need more time?" The smirk was still there when she slowly lifted her eyes to meet his. "Sir," she said carefully, "there seems to be an issue with your account." His smile widened. "An issue?" he chuckled. "Let me guess. You can't pronounce the number." A few people in line laughed nervously. Aisha took a breath. "Your available balance is 0. The laughter died instantly. "What?" The man straightened, his face hardening. "That's impossible. I'm showing 0 in all linked accounts," she continued, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "Savings, investments, fixed deposits. All restricted." His smirk faltered. "That's ridiculous. I'm a millionaire." She nodded. "Sir, according to our records, all your assets have been frozen pending investigation." The silence was heavy now. You could hear the hum of the air conditioner, the faint beeping of a queue number machine. The man's face drained of color. "Investigation," he whispered. Then louder, angry again, "What investigation? I wasn't notified of anything." Aisha turned the screen slightly so he could see. Red text filled the display: legal notices, court orders, dates. He stared, blinking rapidly. I have meetings today," he stammered. "Transfers to make. Do you have any idea what this could cost me?" Aisha met his eyes, and for the first time, she didn't see arrogance. She saw fear. "I'm sorry, sir," she said softly. "You'll need to speak with our legal department." He opened his mouth to argue, but no words came out. The smirk was gone completely. His shoulders sagged as if the weight of all his wealth had suddenly been lifted, and replaced with something much heavier. He gathered his wallet with trembling hands and stepped aside, no longer the center of attention. The line moved forward. Life continued. Aisha watched him walk away, her chest tight with emotions she couldn't quite name. That evening, after her shift ended, Aisha found him sitting on a bench outside the bank, staring at the ground. The sun was setting, painting the sky in tired shades of orange and gray. She hesitated, then approached him. "Sir," she said gently. He looked up, startled. Up close, he looked older. Smaller. "I owe you an apology," he said suddenly. His voice cracked. "I had no right to speak to you the way I did." Aisha sat on the other end of the bench. "Thank you," she said. "But you didn't have to." He laughed bitterly. "You know, I spent years thinking money made me untouchable. That balance today, it was my armor." He shook his head. "Turns out it can disappear in a second." Aisha nodded. "I learned the opposite lesson growing up," she said. "That dignity doesn't come from numbers on a screen." He looked at her, really looked this time. "You stayed calm," he said. "Even when I tried to make you feel small." "I wasn't calm," she admitted. "I was just practiced." A week later, the news broke. The man's empire had been built on fraud, fake charities, stolen pensions, families left ruined. His accounts weren't just frozen, they were gone. Months passed. One morning, Aisha arrived at work to find a letter on her desk. Inside was a handwritten note. "You taught me something in the worst moment of my life," it read. "Money can silence others, but it can't buy self-respect. I'm starting over, the right way this time. Thank you for treating me like a human when I didn't deserve it." Aisha folded the letter and placed it in her drawer. That day, a young man approached her counter, nervous, clutching his ID. "I just wanted to check my balance," he said quietly. "I know it's probably not much." Aisha smiled warmly. "Every balance matters," she said. "Let's take a look." As she typed, she realized something important. True wealth wasn't in accounts or status or smirks meant to impress strangers. It lived in resilience, in humility, in the ability to stand tall even when the world tried to shrink you. And no investigation, no court order, no sudden silence could ever take that away.